Hey folks, I'm Richard Blake. I'm a union steward at UPS as well as a candidate for trustee with 512 Teamsters United. And I just want to talk to you all a little bit today about our slate's platform for inside and part-time workers at UPS. Now, inside workers at UPS make up almost 40% of our local, but for some reason still have no voice and are always left out. That's something our slate wants to completely change. Now, when it comes to things like contract enforcement, we want to make sure to have enough numbers of and duly elected union stewards who are on the ground helping members enforce their rights. That's things like stopping supervisors from working when they're taking money out of our members' pockets. That's things like stopping safety violations that put our members in harm's way for no reason other than the greed of the company. That's things like stopping seniority violations when the people who put in their time at the company get overlooked for bid jobs when it's their turn to come up. That's things like stopping harassment when the managers and supervisors are treating our members as if there's no union at all, right? That's something we want to change with having more better educated and more union stewards on the ground. But on top of that, we also want to have more present business agents who are going to be out at the gates and inside the building helping our members enforce the contract and giving them the tools to be able to do it themselves with massive amounts of education. Now, when it comes to the contract, we all know we live in a national contract. We don't negotiate that here locally. That being said, we are in one of the largest ground hubs in the country, and it's about time voices of inside workers in this ground hub are actually heard at the national negotiations. What's happened recently is a lot of inside and part-time workers, people on the ground, have come out with demands for the next contract, right? And that's what this is, this draft proposal for the 512 Teamsters United UPS Inside Workers Committee. This is something created by people who actually work the job, who have to live with the contract for 5 years of their lives after it comes out. We're talking about things like $18 starting rate for part-time inside workers. We're talking about things like stiffer penalties for harassment. We're talking about things like an actual increase in the number of 22-3 jobs available for people to move up into. Now, a lot of you are going to remember the last contract. When we were out there, a lot of members of our slate, volunteers with our volunteers, were out talking to people, listening to what the demands of inside part-time workers were. That was things like a $15 starting raise at the time, things like a bump raise for part-timers who have been underpaid for all these years under the contract. When the contract actually finally came out, we took one look at it and we saw yet again inside workers were left behind and clearly had no voice when it came to negotiations. So we told people the truth, that this was not a good contract and it should be voted down. And guess what? Nationally, UPSers did vote it down. And what was our local doing at the same exact time? Our current Vice President, Margie Tillman, was negotiating the Southern Supplement that was not adequate enough for inside workers. But on top of that, when the contract actually came out, we voted it down. Our local union supported forcing that contract down our throats above and beyond what we voted for. We voted it down and they said, let's force it through for their own political gain. Now that's something 512 Teamsters United will pledge we will never do. For this next contract that comes up in 2023, we're going to actually take part-time and inside worker voices seriously when it comes to what we're able to communicate up the chain to the negotiators who are actually making those decisions on the ground. It's about time people in 512, the inside workers at 512, had their voices heard in contract negotiations. That has never happened before, and we are committed to changing that. If we see that it's a good contract and it does satisfy it, that's going to be because of a contract campaign that we're helping to carry out for inside workers as part of the contract, right? Now, that is going to be something that happens probably for the first time in a serious way. So that part-timers are going to be agitating for their demands. And we want to, instead of brushing those demands under the rug, we want to amplify them. We want to make sure the international hears it. We want to make sure the company hears it too, because that's going to be very important. It's been way too long that a group of people who represent almost 40% of our local, the single largest group of workers in our local, have been ignored, have had their voices completely ignored. That is going to completely change when it comes to what we want to do with our slate next year. You know, that's one thing that we can guarantee. No one can ever guarantee what comes out of a contract, but what we can guarantee is that we are going to be fighting for the rights and the demands of inside part-time workers at UPS. I was an elected shop steward as a part-timer for many years. People like myself, Jock Griffin, Dustin Ponder, Dave Schneider, we fought on the front lines for part-timers inside UPS. We built our reputation being some of the best fighters with proven results, right? One thing we're committed to as a slate is to never turn our backs on part-timers. That's something that is near and dear to all of our hearts. So if you want to have better conditions inside the building, voting for 512 Teamsters United and taking back what's yours is how to get that.